The percentage of people living with HIV in South Africa decreased from 14% in 2017 to 12.7% in 2022. The 6th South African National HIV Prevalence, Incidence, Behavior and Communication Survey also showed that KwaZulu-Natal remains the province with the highest HIV prevalence in the country.
The national estimate of HIV prevalence for all ages in 2022 is 12.7%. So 12.7% of the people of South Africa were living with HIV in 2022.
While the global health sector's aim is to reduce HIV infection rates within the next few years, socio-economic problems in Southern Africa remain a challenge, with older, financially secure HIV-positive men taking advantage of young girls. KwaZulu-Natal has the highest HIV prevalence in the country.
Young girls having sexual contact with older people. You can see along the way that females have higher risk of HIV compared to males, and males start catching up towards the later ages, 45 years and above.
The highest prevalence is among women between the ages of 35 to 39.
Provinces such as KwaZulu-Natal, Free State, Eastern Cape, and Mpumalanga still have the highest prevalence of HIV, ranging from 18.7 to 21.8.
The prevalence of HIV in the country has decreased from 2017.
It's impressive, the prevalence decline of 1.3% for all ages, 2.4% for adults 15 and older is notable. And as Professor Kangalani noted, this is multifactorial.
Health authorities are focusing on key areas.
We are targeting very specific populations that are affected with high impact interventions in order for us to turn the tide. UNAIDS, in their advice around effective HIV responses, they actually speak to 4 things, and one of them is follow the science and follow the data. So I think South Africa is following the science. If you look at our program data, it is showing that we do need to focus on adolescents and young people.
Almost 8 million South Africans were found to be living with HIV in 2022.
To get more insights on the new survey, let's welcome Dr. Ramlan, Chief Research Manager at the Human Sciences Research Council. Dr. Ramlan, let's just start here. How was this research conducted?
Good morning, everybody. So this research was conducted by going to houses. We targeted over 30,000 houses in South Africa, and over the course of a year, we started in January last year and ended in April this year. We went into houses and interviewed everybody in a house. We asked them quite a lengthy questionnaire, and when we say everybody, when it came to babies, of course, we interviewed their parents and everybody else in the household. We also then asked for a blood sample from our respondents, and then we took that blood sample, of course, to our laboratories at the NICD, where we then tested for the HIV virus, antiretrovirals, as well as other things. So that's how we basically conducted it.
Doctor, the report shows that there is a decline in HIV infections. What do you think contributed to that?
So yes, there is a decline. We went from about 14% to about 12.7%. And there are several factors that led to this decline. Now, what happened is that we are getting fewer people being infected. We also have a higher population rate compared to the last few years. So our population has gone up. We also have fewer children being born HIV what's this thing called? Negative. And so these are the things that basically helped to reduce our overall prevalence.
So the report also shows that in the KwaZulu-Natal province, kids or youth between the ages of 15 and 21 are the ones that are also affected with HIV. And when you look at the age 15, that is still underage for someone to be engaging in sexual intercourse. Do you think we're doing enough as a country to sort of raise awareness in making sure that people that are younger, are underage, don't involve themselves in sexual activities?
In every country, I don't think we've been enough. We can always be doing a lot more. And this is not only for South Africa, this is for all countries around the world. Now, you are right, 15 is quite young to have what's called sexual intercourse. But if we look at the news that has come out this year, even last year, there was pregnancies as young as 10 years old. So the unfortunate thing is that children out there as young as 10 are having sexual intercourse. And what tends to happen is that, well, I'm a parent myself, and as a parent, I don't like to think that my 16-year-old child is engaged in sexual activity. But the reality is that that is happening out there. And we as a society, we as parents, need to basically start engaging with our youth, need to start talking to our children, educating them about sex, educating them about what they should be doing and how it should actually be happening. And that is the reality that is in South Africa, plus around the world as well.
Doctor, I'm going to make it a bit personal right now for me because growing up as a young person, we had organizations or NGOs such as Love Life that were raising awareness and teaching young people on the dangers of engaging in sex. And when you look at right now, there isn't much programs that are, focusing on that, like the young people. Do you think that is also contributing to the fact that young people are now engaging in sexual activities, which now results to this high rate of HIV?
Yes, communication around HIV has decreased. And I'm happy you actually mentioned Love Life, but if you also look at some of the other things, I mean, on the side of buses, on the side of taxis, billboards, we had all of this, there was lots of media out there which basically showed things like condomize, be safe, even go out and test, whereas funding for this has reduced. Now, if we look at that, there is a reason as well. We had to put a lot of funding into giving free antiretroviral medication out there. And I think civil society now needs to take up the gambits, need to basically, and go forward to bring about a lot more advertising, a lot more media, a lot more shows. Schools need to basically also be are a crucial factor, and they need to also start increasing the education when it comes to sexual activity. The other thing that's also important is that knowing your status. So in the survey, what we found is that 90% of people know that they are HIV positive. It means that 10% don't know that they're HIV positive. The scary part is that 10% is a high figure. And to go and get an HIV test is very simple. I mean, it's free of charge. You can go to any clinic in South Africa where you'll then get an HIV test. What our survey has also found is that once you get the test, you're put on antiretrovirals immediately. That's a South African policy. And then your viral load will decrease. We found that people that are on antiretroviral medication, their viral load decreases. So therefore, they live a happier, longer life. So even apart from the education about sexual relations, which is highly needed, even education about going out there, getting tested, so we can actually reduce that gap and get to that 95, meaning that we have a lot more people that are aware that they're HIV positive. That sort of education is also needed.
So as a country, what do you think needs to be done, or what should we do as South Africa to ensure that in the next 5 years, HIV will be really have gone down?
Okay, so I think the first thing I mentioned was that making sure that all of us get tested. So testing is something that's vitally important for all of us. So I think a lot more advocacy needs to be done with that. Secondly, we have a phenomenal antiretroviral program, and we need people to get onto this antiretrovirals, but continue taking it. The problem we also see with youth, and some of our other studies have showed this, is that once somebody gets on antiretroviral drugs, after about 1 year, they kind of feel okay, they feel healthy, so they stop taking the medication, and then they get sick again. So we need that once people are on their medication, to continue to be on their medication and not stop it. Then we also need to do a few more things, amongst women. Because I heard what Prof. Kangalani said, there is disproportion amongst male and women, especially in the youth. I mean, they are 2 to 3 times more likely to be infected than males. I'm talking about female youth. And this is scary. So we need specific interventions then targeting females. We need specific interventions like ensuring that people actually get tested, people are put onto antiretrovirals, stay on the antiretrovirals, and then as Prof. Zuma mentioned, we need to specifically focus on KwaZulu-Natal, Eastern Cape, Free State, and Mpumalanga, just to make sure that we actually bring the HIV epidemic under control in these provinces.
Let's talk about the issue of circumcision. We've heard in the news, we've read in the newspapers that men are being encouraged to go for circumcision because it is believed that it reduces the chances of one contracting the virus. Perhaps you as a doctor, maybe explain to us, why is it important for a man to go for circumcision? How does that prevent or reduce the risk of contracting the virus?
Okay, so it's not just HIV that it also reduces the risk of contracting, but it's all sexually transmitted infections. So this is the reason why we need to go for it. So what happens is that the foreskin of a penis has the ability to basically hold some vaginal fluids as well as and therefore if one is basically having sex with a person that is HIV positive, some of these fluids are able to basically remain in the foreskin. If the foreskin is therefore removed, then there's less likelihood of you actually contracting any sort of sexually transmitted disease, including HIV. Just one thing to make sure though is that although I am a doctor, I'm not a medical doctor, I am a psychologist.
All right, and then now when it comes to testing, we hear that a lot of men don't like to go for testing. Do you think this is an issue? I mean, how true is it? Because we just hear in the news that most men don't like testing. They look at their wives and they look healthy. So it means now, as a man, I'm going to conclude that I'm also healthy.
Thank you for bringing up that point. It's a very important point. Us men, we don't like going and seeking medical care. If you think about when men get sick, we don't go to the clinic. We actually believe that a clinic is a domain for females, so we don't go off to the clinic. And even when we're sick ourselves, we don't take our medication. And I'm talking about just normal flu. And it's a problem that men have had, not only in South Africa, but across the world. Men do not seek medical attention. I mean, even if we get cut, we'll go and just basically wrap it up with whatever we can actually find, not even something clean, and that's how, and we continue going with it. Our studies have even shown that men do not basically go to clinics to seek medical attention, as well as they do not go for testing. And this is a massive problem in South Africa. As men, we need to go get tested. As men, we need to basically get onto antiretrovirals if we are HIV positive. And then not just get on antiretrovirals, go every few months, because the thing is that I think when you first start, it's every month for 6 months that you have to go collect your antiretrovirals, and then on you can basically get a dosage for about 3 months and then continue like that. What we also find is that men, sometimes then they feel better, they feel okay, they feel no, they're strong, they're powerful, therefore they don't need to actually go and continue taking the antiretroviral drugs. This is a problem in South Africa. We have evidence of it. We have seen it scientifically, and therefore I would encourage all men to please go seek medical attention when you need to, go get tested for HIV, and if you are positive, please get medication, take your medication continuously as prescribed, and you'll live a happy, healthy lifestyle.
Dr. Ramlan, thank you so much for your time. That is Dr. Shanir Ramlan, the Chief Research Manager at the Human Sciences Research Council, talking to us about the decline in HIV infections after a report was conducted by his organization. Now, welcome back to SABC Lehae. This show is called Pitso. A lot happens after the whistle has been blown by the referees on the field. This morning, we look into athletes' contracts and the impact of which off-pitch discipline carries. A lot of South African football stars' careers end prior to reaching full potential and peak. Here to bring in more insight into the discussion, we are joined via Zoom by a sports agent, Gary Cassisa. Gary, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us on Pitso. Let's look at a player's value. How do you determine the value of a player?
Good morning. Well, look, obviously, there's a couple of factors when it comes to determining a player's value. One of them being, stats and performance. A lot of clubs and coaches will look at players' stats on how he's performed in his professional career, season by season. They would also look at his performance. Age is obviously also a factor that determines the player's value. But most importantly, it just comes down to stats. Take a striker, for example. Most clubs we know around the world are looking for strikers. And a striker's value is determined by the amount of goals he scored within a season, how many minutes he spends on a park, which will go for all players, how many games played in a season. Another thing that we'll also touch on is injuries. The less a player is injured, the more valuable he is to a club and the more he's deemed a good investment to the club. So those are pretty much the factors on how you would determine a player's value.
So for people that are not really inclined or invested in sports, we all often hear of a player has been transferred on loan. What does that mean and what is the procedure for that?
Well, look, when a player is normally transferred on loan, it means that he's not getting much game time at his current club. So what the club wants to do is they want to keep the player's investment, because they believe there's some sort of talent there, and they want to hone that talent and still utilize him in the future. So what they would do is send him on loan to a club that's looking, for a particular position, and that player fulfills that role. They would transfer the player on loan within the transfer window. The new club would register him and utilize him for the season. And once his loan agreement expires, he would then transfer back to his contracted club.
Now let's talk about the off-pitch behavior of a player. Does that also contribute to the player's value?
The off-pitch behavior, no, definitely, because when you talk about off-pitch behavior, you're obviously talking about the off-field social aspect of professional athletes. And, it comes down to, alcohol consumption, late nights, not letting the body rest, which in turn leads to injuries. We all know that, professional athletes consuming alcohol stand a high risk of not letting their bodies recover properly and, going into stages of fatigue and pushing the boundaries of getting serious injuries. So, players that get injured get injured for long periods of time, and players that get injured regularly aren't determined to be good investments for clubs because they're not able to play and perform for the club. So, definitely the fact that the social and off-field habits can affect a player's earning potential and career is quite a sensitive topic at the moment. And I can't speak for all agents, but from my point of view, it's something that I discuss with a lot of players is to manage their downtime. Their bodies aren't designed to train and play as much as they do at the moment. I mean, so, when it comes to their downtime and their rest, it's very important to invest in their bodies because at the end of the day, their bodies are their tools and they have to look after it. If they don't look after their tools, they aren't able to do their jobs. And if they can't do their jobs, they can't make money at the end of the day.
Gary, you spoke about, players making sure that they manage their downtime, but the issue of mental health, it's a big issue. Do you think players or sportsmen are taking it seriously? Do you think sports people go to psychologists or take care of their mental health?
Again, another sensitive topic that has been discussed at length with clubs and agents. And I know a lot of clubs now have either recruited or outsourced, that department because they've assessed and they've realized there is a need for it. There's a lot of pressure on young professional athletes and older professional athletes because, the younger athletes, they don't really understand the environment. It's new to them. There's a lot of pressure to perform. There's a lot of pressure from the fans to perform and win. So it's all new territory for them, and it's a lot for them to absorb and take in. So yes, there's a definite need for it, and even for your older players that are finishing their careers, a lot of players, all they know is football. They haven't really thought about life after football. What are we going to do career-wise? Are we going to start a business? Is he going to go study? Has he invested his money correctly? So yes, there are a lot of pressures on athletes and professional footballers, when it comes to off-field pressures and where their career is going to go and what are they going to do for the rest of their lives.
You spoke about pressure from the fans, and if you go on Twitter after a match, for instance, if it's a Kaizer Chiefs match with the Orlando Pirates, you hear fans saying all sorts of negative things. What do you think players should do in order to make sure that they don't, they consume social media in a way that benefits them but doesn't sort of demoralize them going forward? Because, like I said, there's a lot of negativity on social media from the fans.
Look, yeah, I mean, the fans must also remember they're only human. They can only do so much. They're professional athletes. The reason why they train hard is because they're learning all the time. They're evolving, they're adapting. So, those mistakes that they make in games, I'm sure they don't do on purpose, but the fans need to just be a little bit patient with the guys. And it's also a lot easier said than done because the fans are so passionate about their teams, and every fan wants their team to win and win trophies and do well because it's all about that fan engagement and celebration. But there are protocols in place that clubs have installed that they have PR managers that set up the interviews with the media, they screen the media, and they also educate the players on how to handle those situations, when they should interact on social media and when they shouldn't interact in social media. So clubs have been very good at setting those protocols in place. My advice to players is, don't interact, don't get involved. Even me as an agent with some of my clients, I sometimes tend to want to interact and have a go and have a say, because there's a lot of behind the scenes situations at training or, whether it's from a coach's point of view or club's point of view, that the fans don't understand, that could also be determining factors into why the player isn't having a good game or why he isn't performing. He might not be gelling with his teammates. He might be struggling with the coach. You don't know what's happening behind the scenes. But, the fans, I think, sometimes just need to, show a little bit of patience, support the player, where they can, and, just try to be a little bit more understanding in terms of, the pressures that the athlete's going through in terms of his professional environment and working environment.
So let's talk about second chances. We've heard in the past players like Junior Kanye pleading for second chances in their team. So as an agent, what is your role? Do you play a role in ensuring them that they get the second chance?
Look, I can't speak for most agents, but myself, definitely yes. I mean, I've had players in the past that, they're young players that, they don't come from a lot of money, and all of a sudden they're earning millions a year. And they get caught into this footballer's image, this footballer's lifestyle, which, we've seen all around the world. They become celebrities overnight. They get invited to all the cool parties and launches. They start spending money on cars and parties and things like that, and it becomes cool. I mean, who wouldn't want to do that, and who wouldn't want to experience that, because it's such a cool lifestyle change. But definitely, yes, I believe that players do deserve a second chance, because, again, it's an environment that they come into that they know absolutely nothing about. They're not taught, they're not schooled about this environment. I know clubs, they do try to address it with young players, especially through academies. But again, it's a learning curve. Some professional players can handle it, some can't. And, those that do fall, along the wayside, I do believe that we need to try and, give them a second chance. I most certainly do. As I said, I've mentioned that I do have players that, have needed some help along the way, where we've made a turnaround. They've lost their contracts. They've had to go and, try and push the social aspect of their lives to aside, focus on their football, do extra training, get a trial at a club. I've had to arrange trials for them at clubs where they had to go and, try and fight for a contract again and try and fight for their career. And, these are players at the age of, 24, 25 that started playing, professional football from the age of 18, 19 already, started earning, really, really good salaries. And, unfortunately, struggled in terms of adapting with the celebrity status and just being sought after in terms of the fan engagements and been wanting to be seen everywhere. So I definitely think agents should get involved. I think it's something that they should work with alongside with the clubs. We're inundated with a lot of talent in this country, and I don't think when a player makes a mistake like this, he should just be tossed away. I think it's something that we can work towards together with the player, the agent, and the club, and try and see what we can do for the best of the player. And I have seen clubs give players, second opportunities, as you mentioned. So definitely yes, I think the agents and the club should definitely assist these players in helping them to get second opportunities, to finish off their careers.
Gary, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day.